Welcome to Spirited Food, everyone. I'm Andrew, your chef and nutritionist, and here at Spirited Food, I help you take control of your health by taking control of your food. And as always, I make it easy and delicious for you to eat good food that's also good for you. Please subscribe to our channel. We're trying to grow it right now. Be a part of something that's really exciting. I have more stuff coming out all the time. Please like this video. It helps us reach more people. And also, if you think what we're doing is valuable, please share it with someone who might benefit from it. Lastly, we have a school channel. We have a school platform. Here's the address right there. It's free to join our community. We'd love to have you be a part of it. Come check out what's over there. There's some other interesting free stuff. This video today is called The Geography of Flavor. And I made this video because clients kept asking me things like, how do I know which herbs and spices go together? Or how do I know which herb to season this with? Or what do I do about salt? And it seems like flavorings might be a little confusing. So I put this together to try to help out with that. It's a little bit longer video, but stay with it till the end. I think you'll learn something. And let me know in the comments. Hope you enjoy. This came through special requests, multiple special requests. And I kept hearing the same question, and it was, Chef Andrew, how do I know which spices go with which? Or how do I know which spices to use? So I hope that by the end of this session, you'll understand herbs and spices a little bit better from this perspective. So let's jump into this. So when we think of the world, we know it's a very diverse place when it comes to the different climates, temperatures, the amount of rainfall per year, how much sunshine an area gets, and how good the soil is in particular areas. And all these factors have combined in specific regions to create the unique ecosystems that we have. And within these ecosystems, that's where all the plants and the animals grow. That's what created all of our diversity. Before the world was so connected like it is today and had not been fully explored, most of these regions just developed on their own without outside influence. And these regions developed within these ecosystems as well and took advantage of the unique plants and animals found there. Particular climates produce particular plants over time. Obviously, the climate, soil, and rainfall influence what types of plants will grow in an area, and natural selection comes into play too, and it influences which plants will survive long term. And when we say plants, I'm speaking of all vegetables and spices and roots and everything that grows in the ground. We'll just refer to those as plants. So those plants that do become a part of the culture of that area and are incorporated into the regional foods. Take the Spice Islands, for example. This is a small island chain in between Australia and China. You can see it here in blue. And it turns out these islands are perfect for promoting the growth of spice plants like the cinnamon cassia tree, cardamom, star anise, different peppers, nutmeg, which is a fruit, and it also, since it's tropical, roots like ginger, turmeric, all types of chilies, a whole bunch of fresh herbs. Everything just loves to grow on the Spice Islands. And here's sort of a sampling of things that you can get from the Spice Islands. Lemongrass, vanilla, ginger, peppercorns, fennel, saffron, different kinds of seeds, star anise, peppers, nutmeg, cinnamon, cardamom, turmeric, black pepper, other chilies, cumin, cloves, and sesame, just for some examples. Now, I love the Spice Islands as an example just because of the abundance of spices that grow there. And so far as flavor goes, we've only so far talked about spices, and those are generally considered dried spices. So when we say the word spice, you can kind of think of it that way. And dried spices have myriad uses and do help to shape a cultural flavor profile. But the world over, every continent has its own herbs, spices, and foods that flavor their cuisine. I'll make this just a little bit bigger if I can. There we go. This is a world map of spices, and I know you can't really see it very well, but it'll tell you kind of what spices come from which country. And you can see that pretty much every continent has different spices and herbs that grow on it. Now we also need to consider the vegetables and fruits that grow regionally to understand a certain culture's geography of flavor. And here is a map of vegetables that grow the world over. If you look at Central America, Mexico over here, you can see avocados, beans, potatoes, chilies, cocoa, cotton, vanilla, sweet potatoes, pumpkin, papaya, and other fruits, palms, and corn. And then you can see how different regions, these items change. Like Southwestern Europe is a little bit different from South and East Mediterranean. A lot of the same things grow, but you'll find some things just specific to a certain region. Like when we go to West Africa and even into Central Africa, you're going to get coffee and peanuts, right? But Southern Africa doesn't really have coffee going on too much, and so on. Southeast Asia, you can see tropical fruits, coconuts, melons, and all those other vegetables. Okay. If we were to consider South America next, some of the regional vegetables that grow there are, as I just listed, you can see the list there. Also limes, and then certain spices that grow there as plants, cumin, coriander, pepper, cinnamon, and herbs like oregano and cilantro. You can definitely see when considering food from Mexico, for example, where the flavor profile of that cuisine comes from. And here's a picture of a Mexican market. You can see all the things that are growing in that region. Limes, avocados, peppers, oranges, tomatillos, tomatoes, of course, and some other things. Now, if we explore France, we find that a completely different set of herbs grow there. Marjoram, which is a cousin of oregano, sage, tarragon, thyme, and parsley, and other interesting plants and flowers grow there that also have culinary uses like lavender, saffron, different roses, and then vegetables like fennel, chicories, carrots, etc. And you won't really find those in the Mexico region. So here's some herbs and spices examples that you would find in that region, plus garlic, and of course, lots of parsley. And then here's just a list of things that grow in that area: radishes, of course, and spinach and beets, asparagus. French food has a completely different flavor profile than interior Mexican food does. And it is these herbs, vegetables, and fruits that make the differences. Understanding these regional plants can help you understand which flavors, spices, and herbs are supposed to go where. So if we use some other additional examples, these are going to be just the major flavors within these cultures or these regions. So Italian, for example, you can see a lot more green herbs, thyme, parsley, rosemary. Of course, every herb grows in Italy, but they also have garlic and red pepper flakes. And Indian, of course, turmeric, cinnamon, cumin, paprika, coriander. They're, of course, known for their different spice mixes, and curries, and that sort of thing. A little bit different with the Chinese flavors. We have ginger, cinnamon, cloves, some sweet spices, and turmeric. And then, of course, the French flavors, which we just covered. And just for kicks, some Jamaican flavors as well. Allspice, chili peppers, cloves, thyme, and ginger. All of those things are part of the Jamaican jerk flavoring. You can't make it without those. And the specific chili called the Scotch bonnet. And here's just another example of things that grow the world over. Now lastly, there are some regional plants that serve as both vegetable and spice, or vegetable, herb, and spice. Some examples of these are as follows. The first one is fennel. Now fennel is one example of a vegetable that can actually be a herb, a spice, and a vegetable. The top part of the fennel here, these are called the fronds. And then you can see the fennel seed that will grow out of the fronds. If you let it bolt and go to seed, it'll eventually make fennel seeds. But until that point, you can chop up these little fronds here. You can see what they look like when you pick them off. And you can use that as an herb. And of course, fennel seed, you can grind that up to make fennel powder. And the Italians have taken to using that in their sausages and in their pasta dishes and in lots of things. The next example is mustard. Now mustard can be a vegetable or a spice. The greens of the mustard plant are often used in southern cooking as a vegetable side, and they are delicious. The seeds can be used whole or ground as a spice. They are an essential ingredient in pickle brine, so if you like pickles, you're getting some of that mustard essence in there. And also, of course, these are ground up to make a whole variety of mustards, prepared mustards, that we all enjoy. The next example is coriander, also called cilantro. And these are, of course, essential to tacos, salsa, Thai, and Indian food. Coriander can be used fresh as an herb, and the seeds are used as a spice on their own or in combination with other spices to make sauces and marinades. This is an indispensable component of Mexican food, both in the seed form and in the fresh leaf form. Next is celery. We are certainly familiar with celery as a vegetable. We've all had that in some form. But it also sprouts, and it also makes its own seeds, and those can be used as a spice. You may have seen celery seed ground up and mixed with salt to line the rim of a Bloody Mary glass. Or you might have seen it incorporated into a spice mix for roasted chicken, or in a yogurt dip for vegetables for snacking. That's what celery seed looks like when they're whole. But the leaves that are in the center of the celery are also very tender and delicious. I like to use these in a salad as well, or I will like to marinate them and just serve them on top of some roasted chicken perhaps. I always take the time to use these very delicate and delicious celery leaves. So, how do I use this information that I just got? How do I tell which spices to use? First, you have to start with whatever you're making or whatever you want to make. Then, you think regionally to narrow it down, to figure out the answer to that question. If you have a roasted chicken, carrots, and spinach, for example, you can ask, where do you want to go with it? If you want to stick with American flavors, use garlic, onions, parsley, celery seed, and lemon. If you would like a South American flavor, you can use cumin, coriander, lime, fresh cilantro, fresh tomato, and fresh chili or chili powder, or both. Thai flavors look like this: ginger, turmeric, cardamom, chili, cinnamon, star anise, and pepper. Those are all just the spice versions. And then we have fresh ingredients that you can use and add as well. That would be fresh ginger root, turmeric root, fresh chilies, fresh basil, and fresh cilantro. And of course, coconut in the form of coconut milk and in the form of fresh shaved coconut. African flavors would include nutmeg, allspice, cumin, chili, cinnamon, ginger, fenugreek, and black pepper. Now, those are all in the spice form, and then fresh ingredients that would flavor food would be fresh garlic, ginger, chilies, lemongrass, and tamarind. Flavors that would come from Spain, saffron, that's a huge one, and also smoked paprika, both the sweet and the hot versions of smoked paprika, cumin, vanilla, and coriander. Fresh ingredients to add would be fresh lemon, scallion, parsley, garlic, and tomato. Now here's where we get into the practical stuff. How to start. You can start with easy things. And let's start with flavored salts. I will have a recipe download for all of these so that you can just download it, print it, and look at this later. But for now, we're just going to briefly go over all the different types of easy flavored salts that I've listed here. Starting with an herb salt, they would be flavored with dried basil, fresh parsley, fresh oregano, and that's it. You basically just grind all that together to make that nice green salt. It's really fresh and it's a super great color. Ginger salt, super interesting. Can go with any kind of stir fry if you're making that. Any braises or vegetables. If you're going for an island or an Asian flair, this is a perfect salt for you. We want to use fresh ginger and just a good quality salt. Now I will say, since we're speaking about salts at the moment, this recipe list contains gray sea salt, but you can use any sea salt you want. You can use Himalayan salt, or you can even just use kosher salt. Just make sure that the salt tastes good. And by that I mean, don't use just normal iodized salt, because I think the iodine that they add to it makes it taste a little off. So I prefer non-iodized salt. If I'm going to make a choice, I will pick some kind of a sea salt to use. So don't think that it's so specific that it has to be gray salt. It really does not. It can be any kind of really good salt that you have on hand. All right, next is mushroom salt. This can be any kind of dried mushrooms that you have on hand, although I will say my personal preference would be the porcini mushrooms. I think they have the most flavor and they have the most umami characteristics to them, so they can add that delicious umami essence to whatever you put them on. Next would be lemon salt, and this is a fresh, beautiful salt, perfect for summer. It's great on chicken, fish. You can sprinkle it on asparagus. That's great too. You can switch it up and use limes instead of lemons. You can use grapefruits. You can use oranges, or you can use a combo. And also that can be on the rim of a margarita glass too. All right, next is garlic salt. This is the only one that has one extra step involved when you're making it. You want to use your fresh garlic and mix it with your salt, and then take the time to allow it to dry at room temperature overnight before you put it away to store it, because it's going to be a little bit extra wet from the fresh garlic. Okay, part 2 of this exercise is all about dry spice rubs. And again, all of these recipes are available for download. It's very, very easy. So, the first one is a tikka style rub, and I really like this one. It's spicy and it's really flavorful. It's just super nice. If you have this high oil cinnamon on hand, it really does make a difference. It gives it a much bolder type of flavor. Now, all these are real easy to put together. You basically just measure everything and mix it together and you're done. Then you can put it in an airtight container and have it in your pantry for use later. Now, when you're using these dry rubs, you do want to marinate them for a time period before you use them. And then you cook it in whatever way you want to. That's for meats or fish. If you're marinating vegetables, you only need maybe 30 minutes or an hour. Next is a Spanish style rub, and it uses cayenne pepper, But if that's too spicy for you, you can tone it down and use, say, ancho pepper instead, which is not a spicy, it's just a flavorful pepper. Or you can substitute any kind of pepper you want. Just think of these as a guide rather than hard and fast rules when it comes to making these. This one I really like as well. This is great on steak and pork and fish, and also anything you're going to put on the grill like squashes or corn, or throw on some green onions or grill up some cabbage. This goes great with all of those things as well. And next is a Montreal style steak seasoning. If you're going to grill steaks, this is a great one to use. Really delicious. And then we have a spicy pepper rub. Now this utilizes the different types of peppercorns. We have black, white, and pink together. And then we have the little floral notes added with the fennel and coriander. A little bit of heat from the cayenne. Notice there's not that much in this whole thing. It's only a teaspoon. Again, if that's too spicy for you, you can switch it out for another kind of pepper or just omit it. There's plenty of flavor going on, even without adding the cayenne at all. And then lastly, the dried oregano just kind of helps to round everything out and add a little bit of that meatiness flavor to this pepper rub. I really like this one for red meats and other white meats, like chicken works well on, and also pork. And then we have a fennel rub. For those of you that like fennel, this is a great fennel flavor. It's been rounded out with coriander and basil and thyme. And this is a full seasoning altogether because it's got the salt in it, so you don't need to add any other salt. It's all there. That's a good fresh one for summer, also good for grilling. And then we have an Italian herb rub. And this one just uses the pre-mixed dried Italian herbs. And it's a really super fresh one to use also. That's one of my go-to rubs as well. Okay, and lastly we have a za'atar rub. Now this is definitely still one of my favorites. There are so many uses for it. It can be a dry rub or a wet rub if you just add a little olive oil to it, just enough to kind of make it a paste, and then you can use it as a wet rub on meats or vegetables. You can make a bread dip if you just pour a little olive oil into a small bowl and then mix in a tablespoon of za'atar into it. Then you have a delicious dip for your bread. You can mix it into Greek yogurt and have a nice vegetable dip. You can toss vegetables with this spice before roasting them. It really is versatile and just kind of goes on and on. So it's made of dried thyme, sumac, sesame seed, and salt, and that's it. And again, this one already has the salt in it, so you don't need to add any additional salt when you use it. And all you do is just mix it together. Remember to marinate to get the best results. So that is the geography of flavor, and I hope you guys got something out of that. I hope that you learned something, and maybe it's a little more clear what spices to use where and why. It's because they grow within the same region. That's why they go together. And that's how also those cultures developed the cuisine that they have. All right. Again, hope you found that useful. This is Chef Andrew signing off.